allegation medial begins on page 376. So I would suggest turning in your book to 376 so you can follow along with these steps as we go through these example problems. So allegation medial, we use this method to find the final concentration or the final percentage strength of a solution when we are mixing two or more substances with different strengths together, okay? So we're going to go through these steps first here. Like I said, they're on the slides and they're also on page 376. So I'll show them in the book also when we go through the example. So these steps will make a lot more sense when we can just take a look at an example. So I think I'm just going to start out with that so you understand what's going on in each step. So step 1, add the number of mils or grams being mixed to obtain a total volume or weight that is being prepared. Okay. So let's take a look at this example on the worksheet. So number 9. It says, what is the final percentage strength of a weight to volume solution when we're mixing 250 mils of an 85%, 1,500 mils of a 75%, and 300 mils of a 45% solution together, okay? But I want you to imagine that each of these is its own solution. So we're combining 3 solutions together that all have different strengths, and we're looking for the final percentage strength of that final combination of all of these things being put together, okay? So number 1, add the number of mils being mixed to obtain a total volume, okay? This is a solution, so we're looking at volume. So I like to start out by writing all of my ingredients and what I know just as they are listed. So there are 250 mils of an 85%, 1,500 mils of a 75%, and 300 mils of a 45% being combined. First step says add the total number of mils to find your total volume. So we're going to add those together. 1,500 plus 250 plus 300 gives me 2,050 mils. That is my total volume. That's the volume of the final solution that we're going to prepare. Now, step 2. Multiply the percentage strength of each component written in decimal form by the total number of grams or milliliters being used in the preparation to obtain the total number of grams or mil of active ingredient that component will add to the total product. Okay, so that's a lot here. Let's see what they mean. So we're going to look at each of these ingredients individually now. So we're going to start with this first one. It says take the volume and multiply that by the percentage strength written as a decimal. So we're going to need to change this percent into a decimal first. So 85%, when you're going from a percent to a decimal, you're going to just move your decimal place 2 places to the left, or you can divide by 100. Okay, so 85% is 0.85 in a decimal. So all I've done is just change that into a decimal. And if you remember back when we were learning about those key words in problems, of always tells us to multiply. So we're changing this to multiplication. So we're going to take 250 times 0.85. The reason why we're doing that is because this is an 85% solution. So that means that 85 out of every 100 grams, or sorry, 100 mils of this solution is going to be active. So 85% of this amount needs to be active. So we're finding out what 85% essentially of 250 is, okay? So 250 times 80.85 gives us 212.5 mils. So that means that out of this 250 mils of total solution, this is the amount of that solution that is actually active, okay? So now we're going to do that for each of our ingredients. So you're just changing the percent into a decimal and then multiplying that volume by that decimal. So once again, 75%, that would be 0.75. So we're taking 1,500 times 0.75. We're essentially finding 75% of 1,500, which gives us 1,125 mils. And then the same thing with the last one here. 45% is 0.45. So 300 times 0.45 gives us 135 mils. Now, this is the amount of active ingredient that is coming from each part of each of these ingredients here, okay? So I like to just write myself a note that this is my active column. So that was step 2. Step 3, add the amounts of active ingredient provided by each component. So step 3 is just adding these together. So 135 plus 1,125 plus 212.5, that gives me 1,472.5 mils. And I know that that is my total active. So now I know that in my total volume here, this is the amount of that solution that will actually be active, okay? So now step 4, place the total amount of active over the total amount of mils and multiply by 100 to determine the percentage strength, okay? So we'll do it this way, but remember that percent strength is always X over 100, right? So there's a couple ways you can do this. We'll do it this way first. So it says place the amount of active over the total amount of solution. So we would have 1,472.5 over 2,050. And then it says divide that and then multiply that by 100. And that will give you your percent strength. Or if you want to do it the way that we're used to, remember percent strength is always X over 100. So we can just set this fraction equal to X over 100. So 1,472.5 over 2,050. Set that equal to X over 100. Both of these equations will give you the same answer. So we'll do this one. Divide 1,472.5 by 2,050. That gives you a decimal. Then just take that times 100. gives you 71.83%. Or you can do it this way. We're just taking 1,472.5 times 100 and then dividing that by 2,050 still gives us the same answer. So whichever way you prefer, you can do it this first way or the way that we're used to solve for percentage strength, okay? So that is the final percentage strength of the solution. Now it asks you to find the ratio strength of the final answer. So based on the concepts that we learned last week, you should be able to convert this percentage strength into ratio strength. So go ahead and do that. Make sure that you circle your final answer as well. If you need to do that on scratch paper, if you don't have enough room here, that's perfectly fine. Just write your final answer up here and then attach that work to the worksheet. All right, and then after you have found the ratio strength on number 9, I would like you to try to solve number 10 on your own based on what we just learned in this example here. So once again, you're looking for the final percentage strength when we're combining these two volumes together. So you're going to use those rules. Once again, they're in the slides and they're also on page 376 in your book. But should be easy for you based on the example that we just did there.